guess we can begin whenever you want.
All right. Hello, I am Jeff Compass with Ninjastar Compass. He edited my Jet Set Radio video. On that, of course, while doing that, we listened to some music. I listened to our guest today in 2015 when I played Future, and I listened to all of his music, and I am honored to have him on. This is Marty James of Scapegoat Wax.
Yeah, what up? I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm just sitting in my studio, doing some work, and hopping on with you guys, and excited to talk with you guys. I've made friends with you guys a little bit on Twitter, and it's kind of cool to meet you guys in person. So it's always cool to meet people that I talk with on Twitter, especially the Rudies and all the Jet Set fans.
Yeah, I played Future back in 2015, and I listened to your music. I loved it. I was listening to your albums on repeat just constantly that year. And then we're doing research for our Jet Set Radio video. We put that in March, I think, or February maybe.
It was early March.
It was early March. We did research. I was like, we're talking about some music from the game. They're like, hey, let's look up. I recommended to Ninja this Scapegoat Wax. We go on your page, and like suddenly there's the comeback no one asked for.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
the timing was.
I actually, it's funny because it's true. It's funny because it's true. Yeah. I never really wanted to stop doing Scapegoat per se, because it was just like my first project. It's my baby. It's kind of like a certain sound. When I think of that, I think of the gritty breakbeat drums and live instruments and a certain style of melodic stuff. I'm always pushing it. I mean, some people, it's just I'm a songwriter, I think, by nature. And so I just tell a lot of different kinds of stories in different forms and different genres and different vocal ranges and everything. And at times I feel that's almost like hurt my artist career, because my voice might sound a little bit different, or people might know my stuff from different things and not really be able to connect the dots. But either way, that's just kind of how I approach making songs. Every song's different. Every song could have its own sort of ecosystem and stuff. And so I've never really gotten away from that. My second group, One Block Radius, was definitely more it was a little bit of the same, but it definitely took probably aimed a little more hip hop, because we had Z-Man in the group and everything. But when I think about my sound, what I want to do, what I do creatively, just aside from working with other people, I just really feel that, I was actually working on some songs, and I was thinking, this is very Scapegoatish, in my mind. And I'm thinking, why don't I just go all the way there? Why don't I just redevelop this and dive back in? And when I started taking that approach, I really wanted to even get back to just why I got into making music. I've gone on to write songs for other people and stuff, and I've had some successful records. That is definitely a different world as far as your approach, as to what you're going for, from making your own records, making your own music, to working with other people, trying to get, on artists that are, internationally known and stuff. And so I really, had a moment during quarantine to kind of get back to the basics, kind of. And I just found myself going back to that sound, and I thought, you know what? It would be fun to relaunch this, and honestly, it's a lot of the Jet Set fans that even made me kind of feel like, there's actually a little niche group of people here who might check for this, and it would be kind of fun to, tap that bear a little bit. And so I started to, and I've just had a blast, man. Honestly, I was just doing this straight out of the love and the creativity. I didn't do any Kickstarters or anything like that. I just did the whole record in my bedroom again. I had some of my friends work on it with me, and I just really didn't want to put a time frame on it or be like, I have to record it by this, and so you guys tell me this and I'll get you the. I didn't want any of that on. I didn't want any. I just wanted to fully just immerse myself back in why I do this, why I got into this, and just recording in my bedroom. I was just feeling inspired, and yeah, man, I've just been pushing. I've been rebranding online. We haven't really been doing any shows or anything, because I really want to do shows. If I do shows, I'm not gonna just go out and just do it with just a DJ per se. Like, I really would want the whole band and some of the guys from the old band and and just kind of do it right. And so we might have to work to that point. It might happen, that might not happen. I'm really not. I was more concerned with the creative. I'm more of a studio person, you know, even when we were on the road back in the day. I like doing shows. I feel comfortable on stage, but I like the idea of creating something brand new every day that didn't exist. I write songs every day. I write something every day. I constantly try to stay inspired, even if it's by mundane things like going to CVS or just doing stuff like, I just like the idea of just creating stuff. And, you know, sometimes when you're on tour, you're kind of like redoing the ideas, you're traveling, it's hard on my voice. There's different things that go along with it. I'm more of a studio person. So to me, it was more important to just get some music out there. And we kind of slowly let a couple songs out before putting the whole rest of the album out. And it's been a fun response. It's been cool to like, you know, see people kind of pop up out of the woodworks. We're making new fans, but we're also kind of, you know, letting people that maybe have listened to Okie Blow and Swax before that, you know, there's some new stuff out. So yeah, like I said, I ramble. So
No, you're good.
you might have to just go. Here's the next question, man. Shut up.
You want to hear it? But it's interesting you say about the Jet Set Radio
Yeah.
community, because it's almost like both Scapegoat Wax and Jet Set Radio, since Future came out, both of you have kind of just built like this niche like fan base in the background. And now that you're coming back, it's just like you can tap into that same kind of niche that, you know, started with 2005 with or not 2005. When did Future come out? 2001, 2002?
2001, yeah.
Yeah. You can kind of tap into that now, because now I see your social media presence. You're interacting with people who like Jet Set Radio, and that's brilliant. I mean, that's a perfect way to get back into it.
Yeah, there's a lot on Twitter. You know, Twitter is a really useful tool for that, because it's where people can kind of link up without all the pictures and the whole things that go with all the other apps that sometimes people just type some stuff, send it out. So it's a good way. It was actually when I started realizing that, you know, okay, I'm going to put out some new Scapegoat stuff. I started to just search on Twitter and found people mentioning Scapegoat Wax over the past 10 years. And I was just hitting them up direct. Yo, we got some new music coming out. I would sit and make it a point. Okay, every night before I go to bed, I'm going to take an hour and just reach out to people who mentioned, you know, Scapegoat Wax. It wasn't the, you know, it was like, let me just throw out some, you know, fishing lines, and some people were interacting, and it kind of helped just get the ball rolling. It started to get me even more motivated to finish the records. And yeah, that's the crazy part about Jet Set in general. You know, I mean, if taking it back just to a little bit in the beginning, you know, the song was used on a couple of video games that were those first generation Xbox games. It was also used on Project Gotham, and I had some songs on other games too, I think. And but I didn't make that happen. That was from Grand Royal. You know, they did like the soundtrack for Jet Set, and I knew it was popular, but I didn't really know how popular until like 2005 or 6 or 7. When I would look us up on YouTube and see what kind of videos were there as stuff started to come out, like kind of in the YouTube era, like, oh, what kind of, you know, videos are people making to my stuff? And I started to see Jet Set Radio a lot, and I'm like, wow, this game has actually stood like the test of time. They have like a real fan base. This wasn't just hot for like a year or two. These people, there's like a little culture around this. So I always kept my eye on it, and, you know, would kind of tap in and shout people out whenever people would reach out to me about it. I'd interact, but I really wasn't doing Scapegoat anymore. Yeah. So it kind of seemed like, oh, you know, we'll just kind of, you know, reach out to people and just be, you know, involved. If anybody wants to say what's up, you know, I'll engage with them. But then I actually started getting proactive with it, because I'm like, it's a lot of people, and it seems like a lot of cool people too, creative people. A lot of the people are artists. They draw, you know, they are doing music, but in general, I think that game definitely attracted kind of a cool person who's gonna see things kind of in a cool, creative way. And I think that's really just kind of what's tapped in with people's imagination and stuff. And so I feel like I'm like that too. So yeah, man, I've just been hitting people up, letting them know we got some new music. I really feel that my music, I've always tried to just keep it kind of for everyone. You know, I always felt pride in the fact that, you know, on my albums, I felt like there will be a song on this album everybody will like. You might not like the whole album, you might not like every song, but you'll find a song on here. And that's kind of because I genre shift all the time. You might be like, I don't like, alternative music. I don't like hip hop music. But I've always felt confident that you could get into at least one or two of the records on there and bring people together. And I don't like making like divisive stuff. I really felt like even in this era, I wanted to make an album that was just good, feel good music. Everything is dark and down, and it's a lot of like drugging and hoeing on records right now. And I just wanted to do something that was just like, let's take it back to basement parties in Chico and like, just doing your best to make ends meet and getting back to really just fun, creative music and doing the beat switch ups and just all the things that I like personally when I'm listening to a record. I wanted to just make something that I would want to listen to. And I'm proud to like play for my friends and everything. And I write songs every day. Like I said, I've been writing songs. I never stopped. There was even since Scapegoat, I moved into a new group and then I started writing songs for other people. And now I write songs for all kinds of things across the board. I use my voice for all kinds of things. And so really it was just about tapping back in, and I dropped everything else I was doing, and I only did this record for about 2 months. I had some sketches and I was like, I'm not even doing anything until this record is done. And then I finished it all out, and then I was releasing them slow. Because I really wanted to capture a moment. I didn't want to just do a song and then record another song and then put it out and then record another song. I might do some of that now, but at first I wanted a body of work. I didn't want to just be like one new Scapegoat song. That's why I was doing 2 at a time, because it's been 20 years. You know what I mean? Like if you're checking for this, you'll be like, okay, wow, 20 years you give me one song. So I felt like 2, and then a couple months later 2. And I really wanted to finish a body of work to say, look, here it is. So that's what Atomic Slam is. Now from here, I don't even know where I'm going with it. From here, I really wasn't to try to come back to blow up per se. It was really just truly, I want to just put some new music in the atmosphere. Also, I have a label that I'm trying to really learn the ins and outs of putting records out in 2020. What year is this? 20,000 and 20 million?
It feels like 10 years in the past.
I don't even know what is going on the earth anymore, but that's why I also wanted to put music out, because, this earth is going in a crazy direction and my beard is going to turn gray all the way soon. So I felt like some new music might be, but, I really just, I wanted to, but where I was going back to is, releasing music independently in 2022 and what that's like and how you get on a playlist or how you, figure out how to find, new fans, make fans through streaming. And it's so different than when I did Okie Blow. I mean, it was recording on tape and make a whole album and doing, going to CD plants and meeting the people making your records and all this. So part of it too is just me wanting to stay like sharp, stay, learning what's going on. So it's like releasing new music and that I know that I feel confident in, learning Spotify for artists and iTunes, Apple for artists. There's a lot of different things now. And I've always tried to maintain staying on top of things and staying, just on whatever direction the industry is moving. I feel that it's been important to kind of keep what you do, but also you got to adapt or you just get left behind,
Well, one thing that I think is really interesting is even back in the day, you have similar philosophy on it. Like you listen to the older album, you go from like aisle 10, and then you go, all of a sudden you got this like rocker with Lost Cause. Then you got something a little more like mellow with like Blood Creek. Then you got it's like always just, and I love that. I love that too. But like it's just something different. Every song that plays next, you don't know what you're getting, and that implied to the same record. I felt was like there's just something different every track, and that's what I really really love and respect as a musician. It's kind of like what I do on YouTube. It's just like different thing every week.
Yeah, and sometimes I'm like, man, people have told me, marketing people like, oh, you got to hone in on the sound a little more. And they might be right. Actually, if I really was just saying, I want you to just recognize me for one thing, maybe I should have hammered one genre or one voice of mine even harder. But I just naturally can't do it. I literally feel compelled to like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do something like this. And, we've got a lot of love on Reckless, but of course I keep the one shit comments that I see in mine. And one guy's like, oh, I can't believe this. You came back and you sound like such a sellout now. And you're, you used to sound hip hop and what is this? And I'm like thinking, dude,
That's always been.
all my albums, every song sounds totally different. You know, if you listen to Freeway and then like Perfect Silence, I mean,
Yeah.
they're on the
Sounds
same
different.
album, but they're definitely a different vibe. So I'm like, what, did you listen that closely, or like, are you just mad? I mean, I don't know. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, I just literally, this whole project has always just been about my just natural instincts as a creative person. I used to make the original versions in my bedroom. I've had a producer, Johnny Z, who's my mentor, showed me sort of how to make, you know, how we get our sonics to sound, you know, a certain way. And so I've, you know, Scapegoat kind of just embodies that sort of, okay, we're over here for a couple records, over here for a couple songs. And that to me really is what it is anyway. So the other things I've done, I've tried to get in the box here. I did a Martell project that was definitely more 80s leaning. That's kind of like under the radar. You know, One Block did things, we started to do things a little more kind of pop, kind of even islandy vibe. But this new record, I was like, I just want the songs to work together, to be able to have a common thread, but I'm not really going to change the idea that, you know, it's like a radio station to me, you know? And I think even with the way people listen to playlists now, you can see people like switching it up quick. You don't necessarily need a whole album of the same sound. And I've always felt that. I've always felt like my albums were like mixtapes, you know, or like playlists, you know, I guess in modern terms. But that idea of like, okay, here's a ballad, here's a hype one, this one's gonna get you your intro song, you know, to me, I just like running the whole gamut of different emotions on the records, you know.
By the same token, while I love that you do varied songs, I find it really awesome. You still embrace the people who, you know, like they really got into you from aisle 10. Because some artists I've seen, like they have one hit or something, or they have like one song that's particularly bigger, and
Yeah.
like they start to kind of disown that song to an extent. They kind of like get tired of it. They kind of maybe
Yeah.
even resent it to an extent, because it's just like I know Slash from Guns N' Roses, he's been on interviews saying he hates Sweet Child of Mine. But what I love is you're just still embracing the people that, you know, there are people who
Yeah.
Aisle 10 or you know, Reckless now, but it's still great to embrace. I still love that you're on Twitter just engaging with those people and supporting them, where some artists are like, you get one song with that artist, and
Yeah.
some of them don't want to play it live anymore, you know.
I think it just probably depends on who the artist is, what time of their life that symbolizes, what that means to them. I mean, I don't really look at anything in my music career in a negative, like, jaded way. I've just always tried to remain, even when we were getting dropped, even when my second band didn't work out, even when, you know, I felt, oh, I should be further along. I just never really wanted to take this stance of like bitterness or being jaded towards any things. Of course, you want to top yourself with the next one. You want to, like, you know, I don't want to be thinking, oh man, the only song these people of mine know is from 2001. But, you know, it's still cool. I mean, nowadays a song can get discovered, you know, from 2001.
Yeah.
And so I've just chosen to just, you know, lean into it. You know, it's pretty awesome to be a part of something that has had a big of impact as Jet Set Radio has on culture in a lot of people's life. So yeah, I mean, I'll always, you know, be proud of my work. I mean, honestly, there's songs that I've done for other people that I might distance myself from, as far as like, you know, that doesn't represent me as much as these songs. But anything with Scapegoat, I mean, there's definitely my favorites. But, you know, for me, anybody who's taking time to shout out, you know, my music, who's listened to it, who's had influence, I get so many messages. I can't even believe it sometimes. And it actually makes me feel so good. How many people say, man, you know, Aisle 10 or even Okie Blow, they'll say, like, really helped shape my formative years. Like, I've heard that phrase from at least like 5 to 6 different people in on Twitter and on Instagram. And like, it was a good influence on them growing up. Playing maybe the game gives them good memories. Maybe they found another song that touched them in another way. But I mean, there's nothing more like that. That's pretty much when I get those messages, I'm like, man, that really means a lot to me, because I know those things that helped me in those years, you know, and music that I revere from those times, athletes that I revere from those times, you know, cousins, stuff like that just takes you back to those moments. And it's nostalgia, it's it's the shape of your life, it just takes you back to something pure. And the fact that my song could be associated with that, with even honestly 10 people, 20 people, 2 people, or anywhere, that means a lot to me. And so yeah, I like hearing those stories. I like engaging with people like that. I mean, I'm a music fan myself. I'm a video game fan myself. I'm a nerd myself. So it's like I really kind of embody and embrace a lot of the same things that I think that people that have liked Jet Set and like my music. So I mean. Yeah, dude, it almost is just like a natural. I like engaging with people. I like communicating with people. I think it's one of my strengths. I've always managed myself through the music industry, and I managed myself into record deals and publishing deals and Grammy nominations and stuff. And, a lot of that's just been because I like talking with people. I like getting to know people. I like hearing people's story. I like taking my own meetings. I like working with other songwriters. I like working with other producers. I like the interactions about music and creativity, because I feel like that's kind of our job as people that creative, is to pass along the love, pass along the knowledge, the wisdom. Maybe something happened for me that I could pass down to the next person that might help clear their path. And maybe they'll tell me something that I'm going to learn to take forward as I get older. So I just feel like, exchanging ideas, exchanging creativity, and exchanging the love of those things is very important in helping, people deal with life, go through life, create in life. And we don't do enough of that. Right now, it's everybody against everybody. It's like a gotcha moment all day on Twitter. It's always trying to own each other. Everything is trying to just one up the other. I'm like, what happened to this? Like, I mean, it makes me sad to look at any topic online, and you'll basically just find people arguing. Our puppy's cute. Could start off World War III in the comments of something, and you're like, are you guys serious? Like, right now, this is what we're doing with all of this fucking amazing technology at our fingertips. Sure, there's other people doing good with it, but it feels like the people are arguing on there. The people who could actually move in numbers, they seem to actually be fractioning off in numbers and going their own separate ways and then clashing. And maybe that's the human element of everything, and we are kind of self-destructive by nature, not to get too philosophical, but there is something to be said where you leave the YouTube comments open, you leave the internet open for anybody to say anything, and you see how dark and ugly it gets. So there's definitely a lot. The internet has been a mind warp in general. I feel that I'm lucky because I'm old enough. Maybe you guys are much younger than me. I say, like, I feel very lucky to have grown up in that golden age where we had some technology. We had Sega, we had Nintendo, we had Super Nintendo, we had some video games, we had good athletes, we had Jordan, we had Magic Johnson, we had we had cool stuff, but we weren't hooked to online yet. Our minds hadn't gone fully on Wi-Fi yet. Like, we were still able to turn off the Nintendo. We didn't have the smartphones, period. We had pagers that your girlfriends would text us 143. You're like, oh yeah, she loves me. But we were able to kind of just go out and kind of learn the old-fashioned way. We didn't get exposed to so much crazy stuff like what's online, and so I'm grateful that sometimes I wish I was younger. But truth be told, like, the era we grew up in, I felt like we got a good balance of getting to have some cool technology, but not being inundated with it so heavily. And it's not that the internet is bad. I just think that maybe our brains aren't necessarily meant to handle that much those types of informations that when you flip through a Twitter or a TikTok, where it's like, right, whoa, rage, jealousy, envy, comedy, whoa, yeah, well, you're like, whoa, and it's like, I could see that kind of, if you grow up with no other references, that kind of, sort of mental stimulation really kind of doling out life in a way that might not really make, certain things seem as exciting about life. And so I don't know, I'm kind of just rambling.
You're good. No, you're
I
good.
agree with everything you just said. So
I I also just building on some of the what you were saying with Jet Set. This is we want to talk about your music in the album, but I do have one more question about Jet Set.
Oh yeah, dude.
So
It's all good.
you're making new songs again, right? When I listened to Evaporate specifically, I was thinking,
Yeah.
typically this is one that sounds like maybe like an older track. Like this is something I could see in a Jet Set game, and
Uh-huh.
I was wondering, there's two things that could happen. There's a spiritual successor called Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, and then
Yeah.
might get a reboot. And I was thinking, like, would you, speaking on all the love and like the memories people had, like you were talking about, would you be interested? Like, would you possibly put a song like that in one of those games again?
Oh, of course. I would let him have it. I would let him use it for free. I actually have been in contact with the Bomb Rush guys,
Okay.
and it's funny. I don't want to say too much, but I've actually just been working and collabing with some of the sort of creators of like some of the future funk sounds.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
so yeah, I got a couple remixes coming with some of those guys of the new stuff. And so, it's been kind of slow developing because I think everybody's kind of doing their stuff. And it, honestly, with Scapegoat, it's no rush. I'm gonna drop more videos. I'm gonna keep promoting these songs through different channels on social media. I'm not gonna have the all-out album blitz that major label has. I just don't. I'm doing this all myself, and honestly, it's part of what I do to have a career in music. But I am gonna, I'm trying to. I definitely would love to be involved with those games, and even if I'm not, I'm still going to support those games because, the original Jet Set was just so big and important for my career, to be honest. For Scapegoat Wax is the biggest thing, actually. It's crazy that if you would have told me back in the day, I would have said, oh, it's probably going to be, signed to the Beastie Boys, or being on Aisle 10 the video was on MTV2 all the time. But a lot of people know, Scapegoat Wax from Jet Set Radio. So, I would love to be involved. I think, you're spot on about Evaporate. That song actually came off the SP1200 with some older sounds. I went over to Johnny Z's house one day, and it was actually the song that made me go, you know what? It would be fun to do some new Scapegoat songs. That was the song. Because I was always like, I kind of needed like a song just to get me like motivated and go, okay, that's the song that I could build around. I never really did it. I wasn't really trying to do that. But I went to Johnny Z's one night and we were like, let's just jam. And so we turned on the SP1200, which is the drum machine that I made a lot of stuff from Scapegoat on. And we just started going through old discs, and I found that old break, and then that bam, bam, bam. And I literally just put that in, and I just made that little beat. And I was like, put this in the computer. And so he gave me the files, and I started freestyling some stuff. And then I took it home, and then I was like, this song could actually be like a new Scapegoat song. And that's when my wheels started going like, oh, you know what? What if I did a whole album around this song now? Because that's why it's first and everything. And it was actually, you called it. I mean, it was literally from that era. Those sounds and those drums and all that are from that era. A lot of the album is. I mean, to me, it's not going to be a Scapegoat record unless it has some of that, because that's pretty much all Scapegoat was in my mind. I was listening to a lot of like trip hop but also like Outkast and Beck and stuff like that. And I was like, I want to take these dirty drums, but then write and really kind of bugged out beats, but then write like melodies and stuff to them, And so it's always got to kind of have that. I mean, even on Reckless, I try to dirty the drums up and put some elements of there in there that maybe you have heard on like, Lost Cause or something like that. But man, that's a good ear. Yeah, you caught that. And I would love to be involved. I'm going to keep trying. I actually been talking to them. And so I'm going to just keep pushing it, because not only would I want them to do it, like I'll try to make it happen too. I go out and try to, make connections and chop it up with people about, how we could work together. And if it works out, great. And if it doesn't, like I said, I'm still going to support both games, because to me, it's like the culture is about, coming together, and bringing people together and dude, I'm always going to support anything Jet Set Radio, whether I'm ever on it again or not, because, we're in the original, one of the original games, and that means a lot to me.
Right.
Even though I can't skate at all. If I try to skate, I'm falling immediately. I cannot ride a skateboard. I'm 6'4". I weigh about 215, 20 pounds, depending on the day of the week. And I cannot, I'm pretty coordinated. I've always played sports to some degree, but man, not skateboarding. I am an uncoordinated, big Sasquatch looking mofo trying to ride a skateboard or inline skates. Yeah, that Jet Set's inline skates, huh? Yeah. I'm definitely not doing that.
I will say, going back to
I was just saying, I was going to let Ninja ask a
okay,
question
yeah,
or two.
Yeah, I was gonna say, going back to our previous point about Aisle 10 being like, you know, how you're known and Jet Set Radio and all that. When I was actually working on, I was gonna say, when I was actually working on editing Jeff's Jet Set Radio video, he did not have access to Jet Set Radio Future, so I had to record it. And literally, when I was recording the footage, I kept hearing Aisle 10. I was like, man, this is a good song. I literally is the only song I went out of my way to look up. And then, like, 2 weeks later, I knew both albums, like, completely.
Wow.
I was like, wow,
dude, yeah, that's awesome.
Because we were just working on this video, and, like, literally within the past few days of us, like, searching your name, it was like, you posted that video. And I'm just like...
That's so cool. Yeah, it was meant to be. That's exactly what I wanted to do. I figured, you know what, if there's just even a handful of people that are checking for it, like, I feel like I would be excited to hear that if I liked a group or I liked some music especially from a video game, or I had some connection to nostalgia. I love nostalgia. I'm like stuck in the 80s, you know. I love nostalgia. I love all old stuff. I love old TV shows. I love old sports logos. I love so, you know, if that's nostalgic to a group of people, like, and I could be part of that, like, I'm gonna do that, you know, because it just, even for me, it's fun. It's like, now I think back 2001, 2020 years ago, what the Beastie Boys meant to me at that time, and how much, like, cool stuff was happening in music, and how alternative music was really, you know, dominating sort of the music landscape at that time. That was such a different time, and it's just cool. So I just like, I like that sort of, you know, that's why even the Reckless lyric video, I got, you know, all the old movies and stuff. I just like nostalgia, and I like bringing that back. And so if I could tie all that together and make some new friends and fans and followers along the way, then that sounds exciting to me, you know?
I love that video.
That's a good video.
And if something about it to me is just so funny, and I just can't help but, like, love it. It's just so, like, it's so good to me. I don't know how, I can't explain it to you. Just whenever I watch it, I'm just like laughing. I just like seeing you superimposed on like all these old films. It's just, that's the type of humor to me that I will just sit there and laugh for like hours about. I love it.
Yeah, it was fun making it. I can't believe, I have to shout out my buddy Nick Nicotera, who directed it, and Electronic Hearsay, who co-produced that song with me. These are all like guys that are my friends, you know. These are like just organic connections. And Nick actually had the idea. He directed it. He's amazing. I just went to his house. We shot it on a green screen. He had the lighting for every shot. He had put the whole video together in order. And then it was like, okay, we're going to put your head over this video. So we knew what shots we were trying to get. That's why my head is matching so good on most of the shots, where he had the lighting in the right way. You know, he was saying, you know, look like this. And so he really just brought all that together. And yeah, he killed it. And so it's been a really cool tool for us to get, you know, to use on the social media apps, TikTok, even, because even 15 seconds of it, even 20, 30, 40 seconds of it still gets the point across, you know, and you understand kind of what's going on. So it's been a really helpful tool in just reestablishing, having music out. And I'm really glad we did that, because he worked hard. He worked really hard, and it took longer than we thought, because he was so detail oriented with it. And I love that guy. He really went out of his way to do a great job. And yeah, I every day, I mean, honestly, it kind of seems like we've lit a little bit of a spark on the album, and it's kind of like spreading pretty organically right now. I think that obviously got to fan the flames. I'm going to drop some more videos, some more content. I shot a video for Caving. I'm going to do a video for Move On. I'm going to do some more, you know, my comedy, I don't know if they're funny, but I'm going to do some more of my comedy bits. And And so yeah, I'm just gonna keep on putting stuff out around the album, and then maybe I'll drop some new songs eventually. But I can drum up songs pretty quick, you know. If I lock in and I'm like, yo, okay, what's the vibe? I already got actually Atomic Slam was gonna be about twice as long, so I have like a back half of that album, and all the songs I think are on a high level, just like those ones. I just picked the ones that I thought would be the best reintroduction. So I got about 10 songs kind of half done that when I fully go like, okay, I need a couple more. I just want to let these ones breathe a little bit, get around. I got a couple other projects I'm working on, and man, I would love to go out and do some shows eventually, but if it's in the cards, it will happen. But like I said, it's going to take I really want to do a great show with a band, and that just obviously takes a lot of resources to pull off. So we'll see. We'll see about getting that together. But I'm not stressing on anything, man. I feel so freaking blessed and honored to be able to have made music professionally and not have another job since like 99, since the Isle 10 job. I haven't had to work at another real job. And it's just based a lot off of that first body of work, opened up a lot of doors for me. But I still had to grind, even though like 2005, 2006, after Scapegoat had some success and I had my foot in the door in the music industry somewhat, I still needed to really grind hard to stay in there. I reset completely after having opened big shows and played in front of all these people. You're kind of back to square one. You get dropped and no more label support. You're like, okay, how do I figure this out? I was very young. And so it's really just you go into survival mode. And I just started writing songs for people, pitching songs to people, helping, engineer sessions, just used all my musical skills. And instead of just having one thing going on, which was just all my eggs in the Scapegoat basket, I had to have like 20 things going on because it's very hard to make it in the music industry.
Right.
So most of the stuff you do isn't going to make any money. And so it just starts to become like a quantity game. Sometimes that can help hurt your quality, but certain jobs you're like, I don't care. This is work. This is my passion stuff. And I think that's really what you got to do. I mean, some musicians are just straight brilliant people that, if you're Diane Warren or Max Martin or one of these people, they just can't help but be amazing. But most of the musicians that I've encountered are just really hardworking people who have worked really hard on their craft. And yeah, they have flashes of brilliance, and yeah, they're obviously musically inclined, but they're people who sharpen that, and they work really hard and long hours. And so, yeah, man, it's really one of those things where Scapegoat was sort of the ignition to getting me in the door. But man, to stay in the game and to stay, afloat, it takes a lot of a lot of will and a lot of determination. But more so than anything, it takes having a lot of fun and not overkilling yourself with the pressure of it all. I always try to remember, like, why did you get into this? You got into it because you love making music. You got into this because you couldn't do any. At 13, all you wanted to do was come home and make songs. And sometimes in your career, whatever it is, you're going to hit walls where you're like, oh, I should be this far. I should be here. This guy did this. This person has this car. Oh, how does... And so I always had to be mindful, like, okay, just why are you here? Don't get too caught up in all of your surroundings of what you should have or what happened, what went wrong or whatever. Just stay immersed in that vibe of I create because I like to create and good things will happen, Right. And so I've always tried to maintain that mindset. And I think that's why I had successes later in my career. I had my biggest success, as I got older, because I had just enough, sharpening the sword, putting yourself in those winning positions, and good things got to happen. But if you start to get down on yourself and everything sucks and I'm trash and I got dropped, why don't I just go back to this and I should end up, then those doors will close. And you won't have opportunities that if you just say, you know what, I'm not going to focus on the bad. I'm going to focus on what can I do next, And
I love hearing this because me and Ninja and just a few other creators in our circle, we do YouTube. We're all really small YouTubers. And, we have those days where we're just like, damn, dude, this video, like, bombed. This video, we love what we're doing. We're not in it for the views. We're not in it for money or anything, but we just love doing it. But you see, you upload a video once in a while and you lose a few subscribers, or like, it doesn't do as well. And you're just like, it just, it bums you out a little bit. But we always keep going. So, I love and I recently hit 1,000, which for me it was like, even though there are YouTubers millions out there, it was just, for me, that was like a huge deal.
1,000 subscribers?
Yeah.
Oh wow, congrats! That's good, man.
And that was huge. So I love hearing that, because it's just, even though music video is obviously different stuff, it just
Totally.
yeah,
No, it's similar. I mean, we're all in similar positions where we want to use our passion as our work and fuel our fire, and we want to be understood, and we want people to hear us. And so it can be frustrating if you're not feeling like you're heard or getting out there. But just remember that sometimes you just gotta just thug it out and just sulk that out. I used to have a bad habit of when I would get bummed, I would drink, and it would turn into like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna let this go, and not be, a lot of people say that, oh, I need a drink, I'm just trying to, and that ended up being like just not a good way for me to cope with things, and because life is a lot about failure, a lot of life is losses, so you can't just cope with it like that. You're going to need to learn to use those tools in your mind of like, okay, I know this didn't go as I thought. This sucks. I'm going to go ahead and sulk this out. I'm not going to do anything while I'm drastically pissed off or bummed. I might just have to do something else creative to get my mind off this. I might have to just veg out, watch a show, and just forget about it. But eventually, this sort of anxiety, angst that I have that's eating at me will wean, and I will get back to that place, because I've had too many times where I was really low and I thought, oh God, this is a low, low, low. And then there'll be another point that's low, low, low. But in between there, you'll find yourself like, you know what? I feel like myself today. I feel happy. I feel good. And so I feel that sometimes in those low moments, it can feel despair, and you're like, oh man, it's not going my way. And it's okay to feel that way. I think the idea is wait them out, push them out, create them out, or cry it out, whatever you got to do, to just get over that hump and then be on to the next thing. And a lot of my new album talks about stuff like that, lessons I've learned through my life that, at one point were holding me a little bit hostage in my current life, that I had to realize, you're looking at things like, the past is out of our control, and kind of almost got to forget about it in some ways. You don't want to just bury it, but you also need to move with accordingly of how life is today. And if you're breathing and you still have opportunities and you still have a mind on you to be able to approach the day with a winning formula, I don't see any reason that, with all the tools we have at our fingertips, that you can't work hard towards, something you want and make a lot of progress towards it. You might say, I want to be the biggest rapper ever, or biggest, YouTuber ever. And you could post to YouTube every day, and you might not be the biggest after, a year or two, but you will have made a lot of progress, and you will look back and go, whoa, like you hitting 1,000 subs. You're like, oh man, that probably seemed like when you had 13, it was like, okay. So I just think that never get too caught up in the moment, big and small. That's like if you pop off or your video pops off, you can't go, oh, I'm Jeff. Y'all got to listen to me now. I got my big video. I felt like some of my bigger successes happened later in my life because I was more ready for them to happen, because maybe if they happened when I was younger, it would have went to my head too much, or I would have, abused it, or I would have RIP'd myself doing something stupid because I was too immature mentally. So at this point, I think it's important to we have so many tools and there's so many opportunities that just remember there's going to be another one. There's going to be another video. Sometimes I write a song and I'm all hype and I send it out and nobody bites, and it kind of is like, oh, I thought everybody was going to like this song, and I'll get bummed. But then I just go, well, there'll be another song. How many songs have I had this exciting feeling about? Thousands now. So I just got to make more, and it's the same way that you guys probably approach. We're creators. At the end of it, this is a different era where we're all kind of doing a little bit of everything, and we kind of have to sometimes, whether you even want to or not. Like there's elements of what we do that, are not necessarily, our forte per se, that go along with what we do, or we might have to work a job to be able to do our other creative thing, or whatever it is. I do all kinds of different work in music, from commercial work, jingles, doing like, fun, creative, crazy voices on silly, videos and stuff like that. Like
90s dad thing?
90s dad. Yeah. That I just did that for fun, because I thought that would be a cool theme song, but and a cool show. A dad who meets a woman on Y2K, and he gets her pregnant that night, and he's the coolest guy ever in the 90s. But then when the babies are born, he is stuck in the 90s, and he becomes like the lamest guy ever, and he still uses a pager. He fully can't grasp that it's the year 2000 and beyond. And so he's just stuck in the 90s. But that's my story for that guy. But yeah, man, I don't know. I just like doing all kinds of creative stuff. Scapegoat to writing songs for people. I like writing. I've been writing like script ideas. I want to try to do all kinds of stuff. I mean, like you guys probably. This is going to hopefully be the jump off point for more stuff for you guys.
I'll let Ninja ask a question because I feel like
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
I gotta let him up a little
Yeah, I was gonna say, I guess we could go into like specific songs from the new album because there are some I feel like
Sure.
are interesting. Like obviously known as "Reckless," which I feel like we've kind of already covered just like in passing.
Yeah, I mean, a little more on Reckless. My buddies that was one song that I collabed with the production with Electronic Hearsay. They sent me like the scratch of that track. And then immediately, as soon as I heard the song, as soon as I heard the beat, I was just like, I think I want a little reckless. I knew I was going to say reckless right there. And then the whole song just came together as soon as I heard it, and kind of wrote the first verse and the second verse. We added the bridge later. And then when I got the stems, I fattened up the drums and put some different textures in the vocals. And I just wanted to just make it super fun and just outlandish and be inspired by everything from Talking Heads to Outkast, just this mashup of all the things that I feel like when you're just on one, you're just raging and you just you can't even see straight because you're just having too much fun and you're probably partying too hard. I was channeling a lot of that energy into that song. I really like that song too, and I'm proud of that song.
One song that I know we wanted to ask you about was "Kick Your Feet Up." Like I remember we were listening to it at some point, and we found out it was just like in the Fred the movie.
Yeah.
Dude, I watched that movie as a kid. I seriously didn't even like make that connection. But like it was interesting to us because like that. So it didn't start as a Scapegoat song. Like what's the story behind that?
Yeah. So "Kick Your Feet Up" was actually made a while ago, like probably like 9 years ago.
Okay.
I was working on some of my own new songs, and it was kind of in the point where One Block Radius was kind of ending. And so I was just making new songs. And, Kick Your Feet Up was one of them. And I was working with a manager at that time, and he heard it, and he's like, oh, we got to put this in the Fred movie. I got the connection. I want to send it over. And so he sent him the song. I really wasn't ready to do really anything with the song. I was actually still working on what I was going to do next. And they were like, Fred movie wants to use it. I was like, okay. So I really didn't know what I should put it under. So it's listed in the Fred movie as just Marty James, but it never really came out. And then I think we posted it on Spotify as One Block Radius when it came out in the Fred movie. But then it came off of Spotify because my buddy who had posted it didn't pay to keep it up there, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I was like, you know what? I'm making this new album. Why don't I just Kick Your Feet Up, get it mixed again, and get it, out there again. And so I basically just touched it up. I had my buddy Todd touch up the mix. And then we got to put on another ad for a gym in the UK, Pure Gym. Pure Gym just used it over the past year for a thing. So this song, it's a good thing about, the kind of music I make is it's not really geared to just one era. Some songs are very timely sounding, or they sound like, certain things. Some of my songs maybe sound maybe they do sound a little bit retro, but the idea is that they'll stand the test of time in a song that got made, whenever the Fred movie came out, 2011 or whatever, to now can still be relevant and still get used in a new sense. And to me, I always make songs that I'm like, I want this to be like, I don't know if this song is from 1994 or 2024, I like that sort of, timelessness on a song. I don't want my songs to sound too trendy or of the moment ever,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, it doesn't sound like that out of place. Like it still flows. And the only song I was like, this could be like a classic was Evaporate. We covered that one.
Yeah, yeah.
I would
Evaporate
argue.
definitely sounds throwback as hell. It was very throwback. I intentionally wanted to keep it that way. I didn't put a whole bunch of synths in it or anything. I just kept it stripped down and added the bass off the little Casio keyboard, the boom boom, because the sample's a little out of tune. So I just wanted to just keep it crazy sounding like that. And I really like that song. I think that song is gonna it's still getting out. It's one of those songs that I think the more people that hear it are gonna have that sort of classic throwback hip hop vibe that takes you a little back to like late '90s, early 2000s. You know, even early '90s, really.
Around Midnight also kind of gave me a little retro vibe. I think when I was listening to it, I just really ended up loving the guitar riff. It almost sounded like a Sublime type of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I love the high, but like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's Reese. Reese killed that one. Reese, wow, I had sent him the drums and he was sending me some guitar riffs, and as soon as he played that, I was like, that's it. And so I just looped that out, and we added some bass and started adding some extra guitars and started putting some of the synths in. And I do that. I was just going to jam out on that song. I wanted to just do all kinds of different styles. Every verse is a little different. You get the different post choruses. To me, that was another one where I was like, okay, this is a Scapegoat Wax song. As soon as I heard that guitar thing over those drums, I was like, I sat on the track for a couple weeks because sometimes if I hear something that I really love that I know I'm going to use for my stuff, I'll let it kind of just marinate and resonate around me. Like I might open it up, do 2 passes, and then close it, and then forget about it for a few days, and then go back, open it up, and then do 2 more fresh passes where I don't even listen to the other passes, and then I leave it again. And then I might come back and do another one, and then if I might do that 3 or 4 times, and then go, okay, I remember X, Y, and Z melodies from this. So those might be some of the standouts. I can kind of move those to the front of the line. Now let me go back and listen to all that stuff I did on fresh ears, pick out the coolest vibes that catch me, almost like it's the first time I'm hearing it, because like I've given it some room to breathe. And then I'll start to go, okay, this could be a verse, this could be a pre, and then maybe 2 parts will run together organically. So then I'll be like, okay, I have these 2 sections. Let me just cut those 2 sections. And maybe some songs I'll have like the pre and the hook, and then I got to work back to the verse. Some songs it's like the verse just comes in and you're like, okay, this is the start of the song, and where does it go from here? So I do, when I have a special piece of music that I feel, whether it's drum based or instrument based or a bass line, I do like to write in almost in fractions. Like I'm not gonna burn myself out on this idea and do it for 12 straight hours right now. That'll come like when the song is more fleshed out and I'm about to go in and cut every part exceptionally well, stack it up, spend each time on that there's gonna come a time for that. But that sort of just what does this hit me, just right from whatever comes out of my heart, of my mind, where am I going? Then after you find something, then you can get a little more mathematical about it. Like, oh, what if I ended that melody this way instead of that way? Or, and so, just giving yourself that initial spark, though, I think until you have that, where you're like, this is the song, then it's hard to do any of the detail work, I mean, you can't really, so I like to just give those songs enough of a chance, because I had songs earlier in my life where I felt like I went all in with my first idea, and I was like, I don't know if I got the best idea, Sometimes the first idea is the best idea, but sometimes it's a combination of the first idea with a little bit of a later idea, something else that you rewrote. Maybe you rewrote the first idea a couple times. Maybe you fine-tuned the first idea, And so that's part of just learning to, songwriter, not rushing things, don't commit overly too fast to something. You might want to give it a second to just catch your breath. Sometimes I'll do stuff, I come back, I'm like, yeah, that's not it. This isn't exciting enough, or this isn't coming out the way I hear it, yeah, man. I mean, you know what I'm saying. I think everybody, there's no exact blueprint on how to create a song. Some songs I've started with the drums. Some songs I've started with some chords. Some songs I started with a lyric or a melody. I I've had songs where I write songs with a lot of people. So Scapegoat stuff, I mostly do a lot of my own work by myself. If I collab with somebody, we'll kind of sketch it out, but then I'll take it and do my thing. But I am in a lot of rooms with a lot of badass pop producers, badass melody lyric writers, dope ass female writers, dope ass, teams of writers. Sometimes there'll be like a duo. And so sometimes I lead the sessions. Sometimes, the other people, maybe another writer will have a lot of the ideas going, and then I'll interject or I'll fall back. So, there's truly no blueprint. Sometimes somebody else will, a producer will have a track, and that will be how the song gets made. So you kind of got to get good at a little bit of all of those things. So you won't be caught off guard if they're like, we want to write from scratch today. But you're like, oh, I normally only write to tracks, This is going more into being a professional songwriter, You got to be ready for anything. Some days you're not even going to, in the songwriting world, they'll just send you in with people like, oh, you guys are writing something cool. He's written something cool. You guys go meet and write a song. and that, in theory, is, how a lot of great songs get made. But there is that sort of, okay, I got to meet you, open up to you. We're going to be writing, bearing our soul to each other. You got to earn that kind of trust. And so there takes that little time. So, and then on top of that sort of, okay, awkwardly meeting in person thing too, now we got to jump in and create. You start to get more seasoned and you start to know okay, I know that this is when I should jump forward. Now I'm realizing that me jumping on the mic might be a good time. Now I'm realizing me shutting up right now might be a good time. Now I'm realizing that throwing out some titles or words might be a good time. Now I should just let this producer do it. So it's like you're constantly, it's not like my process where I'm just I dive in and I'm just jumping around doing whatever. That you got to be a little more even, make sure that you're thinking about the energy in the room too, and kind of that balancing act of let's keep the motivation moving forward on this song and keep the momentum moving. And so with my stuff, I'm all over the place. I'll do this, I'll go smoke a joint, I'll come back in, I'll cut something, go smoke a joint, listen to it, come back, recut it, and when you find partners that you work closely with, you can work like that with them too. But a lot of times you're working with people first, second, third time. So you're like, well, we're going to be mad on task. And those days, a lot of times you don't have the time or the resources to just be like, oh, I'm just going to write some melodies. I'll come back to this in a few days. That you're like, we got 6 to 8 hours. We're all professional songwriters here. We're all together because we're trying to bang out something that we feel that could help us get a cut. Something that we love, that we feel proud of, then could help us get cut by an artist or get out there in a sync or a placement. So then it gets a little more let's get a record done by the end of today. And so that is a kind of a different approach, so there's just so many ways, and that's what kind of keeps it being interesting. That's what kind of keeps it, I think, fun. I've been writing songs every day, damn near for 20 years to some capacity. And so you got to just find those different inspirations of, okay, now I'm with this person. Well, they're bringing out something new in me. Oh, now I found this co-writer, and we might write for a few years together, and then we kind of grow our separate ways, sonically. So, I don't know. I'm just kind of just yapping.
Yeah, you're good. No, I mean, we like hearing it.
I will say the best part about Around Midnight is that we find out you're the new Bruce Willis. That's pretty epic.
That's what a lot of people are saying.
Yeah, it's the new news.
0 people. You like my ad libs? No one is saying that.
I like the ad libs. I think they're pretty good.
And when I say that, I just mean that I'm going bald. So that's what I mean.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite songs that I heard and I was intrigued by was Bad Seed. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, Bad Seed is kind of getting a little slept on, but I'm going to cut some funny vids, I think, to that, where I'm just being a bad seed, I love that song. I'm going to put a video to that one too, and I think that will help get it out there a little more. It's hard to focus on, one song at a time. So I feel like I'm just going to try to give songs different attention as it goes, and maybe I'll go on a Bad Seed run for a couple weeks and try to get that out there. And, but yeah, I definitely think that was one of the funnest ones to make for sure, when I was just being, crazy on it. And I wanted to just have I love the beat switch up at the end. That was one of the funnest ones to make. That's another one that Reese
I was gonna ask, yeah, there were beat switches at the end of that in Caving, I think. Yeah, what was like, where's the inspiration? Where did that come from?
The crazy thing is that Caving actually started off as that beat. That was the first beat that Caving was. I was writing a song to that, dun, 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 but everything was sounding kind of just dry. But I did like the idea of the beat. So then I pull all those sounds off and I just used the drums. And then me and Reese worked on finding some guitars and stuff. So then I replaced those other sounds with the guitars. But then as I was, working on Caving, I used like some of the air, that ooh, that weird sound that was from the original beat. And so I was using some of the sampley stuff, but with the guitars. And then at the end, I just wanted to bring all that stuff back that I had, because I did like the track, and I figured this would be a good time to like introduce a whole new sound right here at the end. And they worked together good. I had to tune the organ a little bit, and just make it match the guitars good enough. But yeah, so it actually had started off as that beat. I made that beat just making some hip hop shit, and then we turned it into the guitar version, and then went back to that beat at the end. And that's kind of how, well, Bad Seed kind of was like that too. Basically, I had those drums and I was trying some different things, and then Reese hit that bass line and really kind of opened it up. And I like that one too. I like the mesh of sort of the samples coming in at the end, and the gritty. That piano at the end of Bad Seed is another like old sample from the SP 1200. That was like this piano break that I was messing with on the SP. So a lot of the stuff is like vintage instrument, from the SP 1200. I really wanted to I didn't use any splice. There's 0 splice samples on here. Not that, shout out splice. It's just, I wanted to just find all my own original stuff. And just my own hits, my own drums, my own everything, and just go out and find it and dig in the crates. To me, that's the fun part. That's like the art, or the artsy part, is getting to pick through different samples and create a new creation out of that stuff,
But yeah, I always thought those sections were almost like interludes, just like as per the song, almost. Because you always have interludes and albums where you're just kind of like random and you move on.
Yeah, and my buddy's like, you got to do some interludes. And so my boy Ray, who kind of he's my best friend, and we always talk. He thought you should do some like skits and interludes, and I thought it's gonna be kind of not cool to have them separate on Spotify, because people like, I have on the older records, they don't even get any plays. Yeah. So I was like, if I just connect them to the songs and kind of make them as like part of the experience of the song, that kind of sums up more what I want to do anyway. I threw a big atomic slam at the end of so if you listen to the album down on Spotify, I put it together that way where it kind of flows a little bit, I broke them up a little differently when I put them out. I didn't put them in exact order of the album, but I have the album in a specific order so that you get the atomic slam drop after around midnight, which is about halfway through the album. I wanted it to just be like, I could put this on and this is going to take me on a little roller coaster ride, And so, yeah, those were definitely intentionally there to just kind of like switch it up. And if you're listening to the whole album, you're on the treadmill or you're just vibing on playing games or something, like the songs are going to switch up enough for you. It's not a bunch of fades and like downtime. It's more just like, go this way, go that way, sort of a crazy roller coaster.
Speaking of the random interludes, I think we need to ask the most important question is, what is the story behind Random Violence? Because we listened to that and we were in a call and we were just laughing. Dude. It was the funniest shit ever.
Because back in the day when I was making those records, all these albums were like putting these sketches of just like dudes like robbing each other. Like, they'll do sketches of like, yo, give me the money, son. Give me the money, B. And then a song would go in. So I thought that was like, we should do one. We were like, we should put one where we just are like doing some random violence on our album, because it was like the not complete, not really what we were representing, but we thought it would kind of be a little bit of a commentary of how random violence is just like, is entertaining almost at this point. And so we brought the horses out,
sort of thing.
The what?
It was kind of like a Grand Theft Auto sort of thing. Like that's.
It kind of was, yeah. Even yeah, it kind of was even before. It was like I remember just thinking like it would be funny like this guy is just robbing them, and then it turns into the cavalry come in, and then it turns
Yeah.
into tanks blowing these guys up. Like there was a whole line of albums at that point that just had all these skits where dudes were just getting beat up on interludes, and so I wanted to get ours out there with our
Yeah.
own touch.
That's definitely a highlight of your career, I would say.
I'm glad you guys like it.
It was
I
good.
always wondered if that ever went over people's heads.
We had to mention it at least once.
What's this?
We had to mention it somewhere.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
And the title's the good. So Random Violence sums up a lot of. I think we're ahead of the time with that interlude.
Yeah. Speaking of the skits that I would say Bad Seed is what they used like to their best, because at the beginning you have like the "you're a stupid idiot" whatever like in the background, and then you get to like the part where it's like the guy like cuts up in the other guy's head. Like I feel like it actually makes this track better. Like, honestly, it just makes it a lot more goofy.
I really wanted to have some moments of like that where I was kind of ad libbing and doing some of my bits, and I do a lot of like goofy bits on Instagram, and I've kind of done these characters, and I was doing all these bits about CVS and how I love CVS and everything, and I kind of wanted to put like I felt like I was sort of building this world, this like ecosystem of this sort of crazy creative world, and I wanted the new Scapegoats to kind of tie all those together. I almost thought about doing a Marty James record or whatever, but I kept thinking everything I'm going to do, I'm initially going to say, I had another group called Scapegoat Wax back in. So I'm like, why don't I just tap back into what I do, And so it was like, I want to tie all of like my crazy skits, my songwriting stuff, tie everything back in to where it all started. And so I was mindful that like I wanted to make some funny moments on the album, but I also didn't want it to just be like straight, too silly. Like I wanted to have some serious moments, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't try to overdo it with too much like comedy. So I thought Bad Seed was a good balance where it felt like a good time, where I'm like talking to myself and all of a sudden I'm a British guy for some reason or something. But like I'm, in my own head about just being, anxiety ridden, or how's my life going to play out, or, why am I in this bad relationship, and just all the things that, all the kind of little crazy voices. And that felt like that was a good time to just say whatever. I didn't even edit a lot of that stuff. I would just do a pass and nudge it around so you could hear it. And it was just, a lot of it, I was freestyling, and then I'd keep what I felt like, was actually making the song progress. But yeah, I really like that song. And I have a special spot in all these for all these songs, because they all were just done from a place of straight creativity, and where I really, it was fun to just make a record and not really think about like, could this be on the radio, or could, is this, it was more just like, what do I just want to just do? Like what sounds inspiring, and, and so I've been listening to the album back in order, because I gave it a little rest from my ears for a while, and I'm really proud of it. I really am. I really think that it holds up against the other work, and I know some people will always like the old stuff more, and I respect that, and obviously I will too. But I feel that I'm a more well-rounded songwriter now. I'm a more well-rounded singer now. I'm a more well-rounded creative person now. And I'm a better person. I'm a more well-rounded person. And so I have more experience to pull from. And obviously there's some rawness and realness in the first stuff I did that, I was just learning. I'm never going to be able to recreate some of that stuff, because it was just so raw and real that it was just, me at the time. But now I have to do that version of me, and just try to stay true to the original sound. It really is not, it kind of naturally just comes out. I feel that, it would be foolish for me to try to, be like, I'm going to try to make an album exactly like this one. And if I don't, to me, it was just like, let me make a new body of work that can, hold its own against anything. Honestly, I feel like my album is as good as any music that's getting released right now. And I mean, I might sound
I would agree.
overly confident with that, but to be honest, I definitely know, like, I don't have all the fans and support or whatever, but I'll put my music up against anybody's music. I feel like you could lock me in a studio by myself, and I feel like I could make a whole song from front to back 100%, and it will be dope. And I feel very confident in my ability. And so I personally think my music is some of the best music getting released right now. That's not to say anybody else's
I
music
love
isn't
it.
dope or important, but I truly believe that. And I just think that I hope more people hear it. But honestly, I'm cool with even the people that have heard it, that being it. Like I obviously want more people to hear it, but my goal with this was just, tapping back in with some of the people who appreciate this. And I hope that, if you're a Scapegoat listener from back in the day, or now that, we can build, and I'm really trying to build a community, and I'm down to engage with the fans and build real relationships. I've always been cool with my biggest supporters, and I will continue to be. And I really, appreciate the fact that, music has been such a just a blessing in my life, to be honest. I mean, I don't know where I'd be without it. I initially just gravitated towards it when I was a kid. I was making songs when I was like 11 for my class. At 13 I made my first tape. At 15 I started going to the studio, and by 17 I was working in studios, making my own pretty professional quality demo up at the Wake Up Show, rapping on Sway and Tech. And then, at 19, 20, making Luxurious, getting signed by the Beastie Boys. And I feel so fortunate that I was able to pick up a passion early, and that I just went for it. I love my parents they didn't really give me their full blessing, but they didn't tell me no either. So, I was able to kind of find my own way. And sometimes I think, even coming from a small city like Chico, where there wasn't really a lot of like music competition, or there wasn't anything to kind of, change my direction. It was just, I was one of the only people there really trying to do what I was doing. And I honestly had a lot of support from the community. And yeah, in some ways I'm just very grateful that I was able to just kind of develop at my own pace, and for some of the people who have, stepped in and help get me out there, like Johnny Z and stuff. So yeah, man, I'm in a very good headspace in my life. I was very blessed to be able to work on music for other people and do all kinds of things. I had a ton of music placements, a ton of singles and songs on shows, and I mean, countless. I don't even know how many at this point. Like, just between all my releases and everything. I did the World Cup song in 2018, and Despacito, obviously. Stuff that just, it's a dream, you know what I mean? I'm honestly, and so for me to be able to have creative freedom, first thing I wanted to do was, let me get back to creating some dope Scapegoat music, and just because it really keeps me wanting to make music. I needed to make this album for my creative sense, to make me like stay in love with the process, and yeah, dude, it's been a fun year so far.
Yeah. So we do have to wrap up soon.
All good. I know I talk forever, but you can trim it down.
Go. That I'd love for you to answer is simple question. What's the future? Like, what are you thinking? Are you planning to do? I know you alluded a little bit earlier, but like, are you planning new albums, new singles, or I know you're gonna ride out this one, but like, what's even if it's not Scapegoat, like, what's for you even? What's you thinking right now?
Well, so I'm definitely with Scapegoat. I'm gonna do some more promo for Atomic Slam, more video stuff. I want to do a live, like a live performance, but filmed. And I want to do maybe like a Tiny Desk style performance of Reckless and a couple of the songs. I'm working on that, just basically pulling that together. And I hope that will help propel things out there a little more with Atomic Slam. A couple more videos, and see where that goes. And, with the way the music industry is now, Spotify and these different algorithms, they kind of help you get your music out if you continue to feed it. So I'm hoping that, that will kind of grow organically. And then I started a label based out of Northern California called Mighty Oak. I'm going to be working on basically kind of trying to give back a little bit to my area. It's not an area that is necessarily known for music coming out of it, but it's in Northern California. It's a great area. and there is a lot of talent there. And so I kind of wanted to just, reach back out, and if I could pass along either some connections or maybe some records and help people from that area musically, I feel that sounds like something that I can do. So I'm going to be working on a compilation for them, and then I'm writing songs for all kinds of pop artists. I'm submitting songs all the time. I'm doing sessions. I work a lot with a lot of Latin artists, and so that stuff, I'll say more about that as it gets a little closer, because if you say anything about some of these big stars, artists, and they hear about it, they start to blow you up on Twitter, and they demand answers. So I just better leave some of that stuff alone. But yeah, dude, I got a lot of good stuff going on in my life. Buying a house right now for the first time, and so I'm proud of that. And just going to keep creating, and then with Scapegoat, I might just do another few songs here and there. I don't know what I'm gonna do, really. I think that's the beauty of this whole journey, is that tomorrow is a blank canvas, and we could write a whole new chapter. I mean, Atomic Slam wasn't even a thought in my mind 2 years ago, and now I got a new album out, and I'm really excited for everyone to hear it. So I'm going to kind of just go where things take me. It's going to be a creative direction. I let creativity lead the way all the time, and really try to let that, just dictate what my next moves are. So we'll see. We'll see. I got a few things in the works that I could talk a little more about as they get closer, but it's definitely going to be exciting, whatever it is.
Yeah. Before we sign off, where can people find you?
All right. So yeah, at Marty James, and at my Instagram is at Martell James. My Twitter is at Marty James, and that's Martell with one L. So anything with Marty James, you can pretty much find me at. But then all the Scapegoat stuff is all Scapegoat Wax, at Scapegoat Wax on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok. That is my TikTok, and most importantly on the streaming services. Follow us on Spotify, Scapegoat Wax. I think that all that stuff helps. Anybody that's sharing anything, their YouTube is also Scapegoat Wax. Anybody that is out there who's just wanting to listen to something that's outside of the box, left field, maybe you've never heard my sound before. And I definitely think that no matter what walk of life you come from, you'll find some records by Scapegoat Wax that will resonate with you. So give it a shot. And if you like it, share it. And I'm just having a blast being creative and making some new friends. And, none of this is promised. So I really don't take any of it for granted. I have a lot of gratitude for where I'm at in my life. And I just implore everybody, find a creative outlet and create and make something, even if it's in your basement and no one ever sees it, even if it's something that you try to have a marketing plan on it that doesn't go as planned. Just keep it moving. Just keep creating, keep making, ideas. And even if you have to work a 9 to 5, that outlet, that creativity outlet is gold. And it will help keep you in a good spirit, and it'll keep you inspired and motivated. And I pray and send love to everybody out there watching, and all the Jet Set fans, all the Scapegoat Wax fans. It's all love, and you guys know where to find me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today.
Of course. Okay, for sure. I'm gonna send you guys a link to this audio.
Okay.
In the Twitter, maybe like to the in the Twitter DM, I'll send you like a WeTransfer link.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today, man.
Okay, guys, that was awesome. Right on. Appreciate you guys. Right on. Much love.